You're watching On Demand. Please check the closing time before trying to vote or enter any competition or other interactivity in this programme, as it may not count and you may still be charged.
This is criminal barrister Robert Rinder. He spent his career fighting for justice. Now he's ready to rule in ITV's court.
This is a case about your car.
It wasn't until we'd actually got it on the ramp you could really see what was there.
And very helpfully, you keep a diary. Terry took car to Tony, couldn't return it, so he had to pay. I did 3 washing loads. Dried and ironed. Terry did the garden. Where were you when the car broke down?
We was near Tiverton. We'd been
Wait
on
1 second, Terry. Put that in the diary. Terry interrupted Judge Rinder. Hello and welcome to Judge Rinder. Now, today we'll be looking back at some of my most memorable cases, from car parts to illegal substances to a captain of beans. Our first claimant today, Terry, came to my court with his partner Linda, who had quite a fair bit to say in regards to Terry's case. Terry came to claim £343.49 from his mechanic for a replacement part which he says was not needed. Defendant Tony says the fault was originally misdiagnosed by a rescue service, and he'd only had a chance to examine the car once the part was ordered, so he said he owed nothing. Let's take a look at what they both had to say about the car part in question. Some time ago, you bought a vehicle, I think actually from Tony?
Yes.
And for several years, it worked thoroughly well, correct?
That's
How
right.
many years?
A couple of years.
What sort of car was it?
It's Nissan Almera Tino.
Is that the vehicle?
That's right, yeah.
Linda, can I ask you to stand up? What's this on the table? It looks thoroughly threatening. It's not going to blow up, is it?
No.
I don't mean the papers. I mean the...
This is
That's the part.
That's the part that we're going to talk about in a
That's
moment.
right.
Now, Linda,
Yes.
how long have you been in a relationship with Terry?
12 years.
12 years. And very helpfully and very unusually, you keep a diary, don't you?
Yes.
And that diary includes absolutely everything,
Yes.
including things like Terry left socks on floor, etc. Right?
Yes.
Had argument with Terry over not taking bins out, etc. 12 years?
12 years.
Did you know that she kept a thorough record of everything that transpired between you?
Oh, yes.
So if the two of you have an argument, for example, oh, this is marvellous. Let me tell you, there are women up and down the country that are standing up in their living rooms applauding you. And Terry says, well, give me an example when I did that. You say, wait a minute. Now, for the sake of argument, you're not joking.
Nope.
So if I were to open up, see if you can find one. Can you find any example of that?
Oh, gosh. Went for a walk for a couple of hours to Rosemore, had a lovely day, and then we watched Argentina beat Holland
Oh, well, that's
on
very
penalties.
good. Now, I presume in there you also include things like watch Judge Rinder. It's both brilliant and educational.
Always.
Yes? Very good. Now, you can close your diary for the moment. Thank you very much, Linda. And the reason that's helpful is because in due course, what happened when the car broke down may be of some importance. So I'm going to ask you to stand there for the moment. Now, the two of you are driving along, and you'll know because it's in your diary somewhere, and I've got that diary entry. At some point, the car broke down, correct? Where were you when the car broke down?
We
without
was near
looking at-
Tiverton. We'd been
Wait
on
1 second, Terry. You jumped the gun. There you are. There you are. Put that in the diary. Terry interrupted Judge Rinder.
I shall do.
Some point, the car broke down.
We was going to a pub for a meal.
Right, I understand. You're on the way to the pub, and what sort of road are you on when the car breaks down?
I think it was probably a B road.
The car stopped working. You don't have any specific expertise in cars, that's right to say, isn't it? And I presume you don't, Linda?
Not at all.
No. First thing you do is you telephone a rescue service. And along comes the gentleman in his van, and he looks at the vehicle, correct? Is he able to repair it by the roadside? I'm going to ask you, Linda.
Well, it was in a car park at the time, so he
Right.
did, yes.
He repaired it?
Well, he did a sort of a makeshift repair.
Right, so the car could get to where you wanted to go?
Yes.
Now, what did he say to you?
He said to me that it's the oil cooler that's leaking. And if I was you, I'd take it, when you get it home, I've done a temporary repair on it.
Yes.
It'll be enough to get you home.
And did you get home?
We got home.
Lovely. Now, you've got a report here. This report that's been prepared for you is a report which has not been prepared by Tony.
No.
This has been prepared by the rescue service, and it's based upon his assessment, having looked under the bonnet and come to a view as to the fundamental problem with the vehicle. In other words, I'm going to call it his clinical professional diagnosis of the vehicle.
That's right.
And he says this: oil leak from something, oil cooler. Do you know what that says, Tony?
Gearbox,
oil cooler, bypass pipe, any top gearbox with 2 litres of oil. It says £16 to replace the oil cooler. So you had to pay a little bit to make the temporary makeshift repair before you got whatever the permanent replacement would be, right?
That's right.
At some point, you need to get the vehicle to Tony. Now, Tony, do you get a telephone call before Terry brings the vehicle into you?
I honestly can't recall.
That's fine.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you because you remember. Linda, it may be in your diary, it might not be.
It is.
It is? Splendid. Of course it is. Let me tell you, I think you should be afraid. Never get into an argument with your partner.
Oh,
You agree?
found that out.
How did it work out for you?
For me,
Yes, for you.
not very good.
Not very good.
Not very good.
The book. So sensible. Now, what did you do?
Well, Terry telephoned him and explained to him what had happened the day before when the car had broken down.
I said, I told him that I'd broken down and told him about, I read this out to him, exactly what was on there just now.
Now, that's very important. Thank you. It's very helpful. Do you remember what you did as a result of him telling you that? The first thing you said was bring the car in.
Bring the car over, yes.
Now, when that was read to you, did you buy any part as a result of what was read to you? That's what I needed to understand. Eventually, you can put the diary note down, it's okay, because now we're not in dispute as to dates. You drove the car, or one of you drove the car over to Tony's garage, and I think
Right.
it's accepted it was on the 13th or thereabouts.
5 days later.
The
5 days
5
later.
days later, fine. Now, in that 5-day period, Tony, just to be clear, you haven't purchased anything based upon the information that was passed on to you in that report.
No.
What do you do when you first receive the vehicle?
Examine it.
Based upon that examination, do you acquire a part?
Yes, but I'd like to expand on that slightly.
Well, I need you to expand on that.
Firstly, the cooler is situated behind the front bumper and very difficult to see. But all round the area of the cooler, you could see the fluid leak. Secondly, Terry assured me, and obviously because the vehicle had been driven over, that the repair by the recovery people had cured the problem.
Well, it had. Let me stop. In this regard, he's right about
right,
that.
yes.
It had cured the problem insofar as it had got him home. But they've clearly diagnosed that there's a problem with that vehicle, and this is the problem. Based upon conducting that examination, what did you do?
I then ordered the cooler because that did appear to be all the supporting evidence.
You looked at that, right?
I did, but I didn't go purely by that.
Were you there, either of you, whilst Tony or one of Tony's staff, for example, were examining that car first time round?
Yes.
You were, Linda. You tell me about it.
He came out and he asked Terry to open the bonnet. He looked down inside and said, "Oh yes, I think I can get to it from above." And then said that, and I've got here,
In the
bring
diary.
it in, yes.
Very helpful.
Yes, I've got, after breakfast, took the car to
Well, hang on.
Tony's.
You didn't put down what you had for breakfast.
Cereal.
Put down. Do you know, in years to come, this is going to be a veritable thrill ride, I think.
And took the car to Tony's to find out when he can fix the car. And then I put a line to say Thursday the 15th. Had tea and cake in Trelawney Garden Centre. Terry picked strawberries and then went home.
And I'm sorry, I've got strawberry picking. Tell me about the car.
He looked inside, and then when he finished looking inside, he told Terry that to bring it in on Thursday and he'd fit the part.
And you told them how much the part was, which was £343.
Yes.
Now, the car comes back in. Now, here's the thing. This is when your mechanic skills really come into action, correct? Because, have you got the diary entry?
I have.
I don't need the diary entry because I know what happened. What happens is at this stage, in comes the car and you actually conduct a full professional assessment.
Well, we put the car on a ramp and started to strip it in order to fit the new part.
When you took a closer inspection, you realised that actually the problem was less serious.
Yes.
Correct? So it could have been cured, not by buying a part for £343.49. In fact, curing the problem was going to be significantly cheaper, right? How much?
116.
£116.
Coming next.
Couldn't return it, so we had to pay. Full stop. What's the next thing? I did 3 washing loads. Dried and ironed. Terry did the garden.
This program is sponsored by Patient Claimline, medical negligence specialists. Extend that summer feeling.